Okay, we're going to call to order the Franklin Regional School Directors Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, August 2nd, 2021. We're in executive session on July 27th, 2021, from 8 o'clock to 9:15 for safety, legal, personnel, and contractual. And we're in executive session tonight from 6:30 to 7:20 for safety, legal, and personnel. Dr. Prino, Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Yingling.
Yes.
I'm going to be very brief tonight. Essentially, what I want to do is introduce the administrative team. I know we have had a number of changes over the last year, and with this being our first meeting returning to in person, I think it's important that the community get to see or get to hear about our new administrators. To my right is our new assistant superintendent. She's actually been here for a little over a year. That's Robin Pinus. In the audience, many of you know Mrs. DeFulvio, Jennifer DeFulvio. She was a learning support teacher at Heritage Elementary School, an assistant principal at the middle school, and the principal of Sloan Elementary School. She is now the director of elementary education. I believe she's in the back. Do you want to say hello, Mrs. DeFulvio? Many of you know Jim Heck. Jim Heck has announced his retirement and will be retired by the end of September. But we have already hired his replacement, and with us this evening is Mr. David Matze, who will be the director of facilities. Up front, Ms. Wolf is not here this evening. However, in a new role in the district as the director of communication and innovative programs, and former principal of Newlandsburg Elementary School is Ms. Tina Gillen.
Good evening.
Then also, I don't see them here this evening, our K-2 principal, or our primary school principal is Mrs. Lauren Reiber, and she was our high school assistant principal, and replacing her at the high school is also someone who's not new to the district or the community. She taught middle school English, or ELA, and that is Ms. Casey Miskimen. I want to welcome our new administrators and welcome to the new folks to the team and this great community. So
Erica Cow.
Is that?
Erica
Oh, I'm
Cow.
sorry. How can I forget? And in the back, we have Mrs. Erica Cow, who is now the Assistant Director of Finance. Essentially, for those of you who are calling in, she deals with busing and cafeteria. So she is with us this evening as well. Mrs. Cow? That concludes everyone, I think. Right? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prino. Okay, public comments. We have 9, starting with Walter Sebulak. Walter, you want to come up and give your name and address? Haven't seen you in a while.
Mr. Matter, are you going to keep time this evening?
I will.
Thank you.
4 minutes. Okay.
Good evening, Walter Sebulak, live in Export. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to the board. At this stage, given the absence of significant interaction over the last year and a half, I, along with many other people, have more questions than statements about things that are going on in the district. Starting with some change orders for the new construction. We and many are wondering, has the change order for $540,890 been accepted? And will this work be completed for the start of the school year this year? Will your change order deduction of $705,000 be accepted by advanced builders in recognition that they decided not to perform the playground site preparation work as described in the original project documents? The site work contract bids spanned $5.6 million to $8.2 million, with Advanced Builders being the accepted low bid. With major concerns from your geologic survey contractor for poor site soil and wetland conditions, major site remediation was required. With Advanced Builders deciding not to fulfill the playground site work, can we be assured that the lowest site bidder has met the soil remediation requirements to adequately support the new intermediate elementary building? Are there soil test results that verify that the as-built site meets the architect's required subsurface required properties? Is that known? With the recent addition of $540,000 to the site work contract for missing playgrounds, will this contract remain the lowest cost bid for this work? Lastly, for one other item on the agenda, has any consideration been given to selling the Heritage School property for potential commercial or residential reuse? Thank you.
Thanks, Walter.
If I may.
You can make a
Dean,
comment, yes.
The questions about the change orders which have been approved and not approved are clearly reflective in the board actions that have either taken place or will be taking place this month. As far as the issues with the soil work that has been done and the site, all of the soil work and site movement has been approved by the architect, engineer, and design team and the construction company that has taken place, and they've all been in conformance with whatever that the design team felt was needed. Some of your other questions about deductions and so forth are still remain to be seen on how the work about the playgrounds will take place.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Walter. Okay, Charles Chadwick.
My name's Charles Chadwick. I live on Ivy Drive in Murraysville. I was here to speak about the mask situation. My name is Chuck. I have 5 children currently enrolled in Franklin Regional. I want to start off by saying I'm concerned as a parent with 5 children currently enrolled. I'm concerned that the irrational fears of some will overshadow the ability of parents to make choices about their child's health and happiness. Parents should be able to make that choice for their own children based on their own reasoning and critical thinking. After all, isn't science all about critical reasoning? And are we not told to follow the science? In science, beliefs matter less than facts. The development of beliefs based on critical reasoning and quality data is a science-based approach, and that is important to apply in this instance. There are legitimate questions being raised by medical doctors all over the world. German neurologist Dr. Marguerite Britson worries about the eventual rise in dementia and down the road because of oxygen deprivation from wearing masks today. We don't know if that's ridiculous or rational. We do know there's nothing close to a consensus. I'm not interested in forcing anyone to wear a mask that doesn't want to wear one, just as I'm not interested in trying to force anyone to remove their masks. I urge you to please consider the science before you attempt to force my 5 children to wear a face mask. While the experts may not agree on whether forcing a child to wear a face mask all day is worth it, almost all studies acknowledge the following: increased feeling of isolation, they are damaging to language development, they hamper speech and communication, they are unsanitary, provide a warm, moist environment for bacteria to grow, they cause more CO2 and less oxygen to enter the body, they aren't good for emotional development, especially under young children, because they need to see faces to help develop their own speech and emotions and so on, not to mention the wide range of effects masks have on special needs children. According to a report published by the Global Mental Health Program at Columbia University, which cites Dr. Kang Lee, a University of Toronto psychologist, it is not until kids are about 14 years old that they reach adult skill levels in recognizing faces. Before then, kids tend to see individual facial features rather than recognize the person as a whole. By putting on masks, we take away information that makes it especially difficult for children to recognize others and read emotional signals, which is unsettling and disconcerting. These issues may be especially true for children with autism spectrum disorder, including Asperger's syndrome, who tend to have particular difficulties reading nonverbal cues. In the process of researching the subject, it came to my attention that there are doctors on both sides of this issue and there are scientists on both sides of this issue, which tells me no one really knows. I found that every study I looked at said they needed more research on the long-term effects of wearing masks for extended periods of times on children. That seems reasonable to me. In the meantime, please continue to allow me to make decisions concerning my child's medical and emotional health. I prefer to have that ability graciously left in my hands where it should be rather than ripped away from me and put into someone else's hands due to irrational fears of a third party. I take my children's mental and emotional health more seriously than anyone else, so when I make choices concerning them, I do it out of an unrelenting love for them. I want the very best for them, just as any parent here does. No matter what side of the issue you fall on, everyone here wants the best for our kids or we wouldn't be here tonight. The bottom line here is the school board should continue doing the right thing by allowing parents to choose. This leaves the power in the parents' hands and does not trample anyone's liberty. I know I will not be forcing my children to wear masks, and if the school votes to mandate them, we will seek alternative and less damaging methods of educating our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Okay, Catherine Jordan.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I am the mother of an incoming kindergartner, an incoming first grader, and an incoming fourth grader. Our children stayed home last year because both my husband, myself, are immunocompromised. Our mother-in-law, who lived with us and helped to teach our children, is also 82 years old and immunocompromised. I was shocked to receive the email that Franklin Regional is, I believe it said, following the guidelines, but only really listening to mandates. Does it make sense to you as a board that children would have to wear a mask because there's a federal mandate on the bus, but when they get to school, magically, it's no longer contagious? Kids can't get it? I would like to send my children to school. I understand that there are some concerns. I'm an attorney. I don't like standing up here with half of my face covered. Thankfully, I haven't had to do a jury trial to try to communicate. But when I do have to go to court, I have my face covered in a room full of adults who have the opportunity to be fully vaccinated. Not one of my younger children have that opportunity yet. It's your responsibility to care for them and to protect them. Our first grader suffered terribly staying at home. So while having some problems communicating and having sort of a lesser ability to communicate is difficult, imagine having a 5-year-old sitting in front of a computer for 6 hours a day. Her teacher did a fabulous job with horrible circumstances. I think she learned about a fourth of what she would have had she been in the classroom. But because of her health and because of our health, we couldn't allow her to. The Franklin Regional is saying that they're following the science. On the 28th is when the latest proposal for your health and safety guidelines came out. On the 27th of this month is when the CDC said that everyone in a school, regardless of vaccination, which for your primary school and for your intermediate school is everybody, you're not following the science when they say every one of those people should have to wear a mask. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the doctors are also saying that everyone should have to wear a mask. The fact that the school says they're following this, you're not. My other issue is that you're asking parents to make a decision by today as to whether they school online or not. I'll tell you, I did not make the decision, and it's all of your fault because I didn't have the right information, and I'm guaranteeing you 75% of the people in this room don't have the right information. Mrs. Reiber was kind enough to return a phone call to me that I had made about an email about Frola. I looked online. Do you know what happens when you pull up Franklin Regional's Frola webpage right now? 404, nothing found. Okay. What I found out was that Franklin Regional is joining with Hempfield and Irwin for their online education. My husband and I chose to live in Franklin Regional to give our children a Franklin Regional education. I watched my nephews, who were also in kindergarten, get a Shaler online education, and the expectations were significantly different. When my first grader goes to second grade for the first time in person, I don't want her to be any more behind than she already is. As a taxpayer, I want a Franklin Regional teacher because I pay Franklin Regional taxes.
Thank you. Anne Marie Grant.
My name is Anna Marie Grand, and I live in Delmont.
Can't hear her. Can you get a little bit closer to the mic because I can't hear you?
Sorry. So my name is Anna Marie Grand, and I live in Delmont. I'm here today to share my thoughts on the Franklin Regional's optional mask policy for the 2021-2022 school year. The letter that was sent out to all Franklin Regional parents indicated that Franklin will be closely monitoring the Department of Education, Department of Health, and CDC guidelines, but will only comply with any mandates required by law. Only implementing safety measures that are absolutely required by law instead of following guidelines that are issued by the CDC and leading medical experts is inadequate and unacceptable. I'm not sure when Franklin Regional became a district where the bare minimum is good enough. Both the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics now recommend that everyone in K-12 schools wear masks regardless of their vaccination status. The PA Departments of Health and Education have stated that schools should follow the CDC guidance for masking and social distancing in schools. If this is what is coming from our leading national medical experts, what makes this board qualified to make the decision to disregard those guidelines? While I do believe that our online teachers did an amazing job this past year with the situation that was handed to them, there is no substitute for in-person learning and what the children gain from the interaction that in-person learning provides. We should not be forced to choose between the quality of education our children receive and their health. It has been proven time and again that masks greatly reduce the spread of COVID-19 and that there are no additional risks created by wearing them. Masks are such a simple solution to make the school year as safe as it can possibly be, and the decision not to require them puts these kids at unnecessary risk. I implore you to make Franklin Regional a district that sets the example of what it means to prioritize our children. Take your role in the health and well-being of these kids as seriously as it should be taken. It is not your responsibility to cave to unfounded complaints from those who simply don't want the inconvenience of a mask. It is your responsibility to protect these children while they are in your hands. If your policy puts even one child at unnecessary risk, it is your responsibility to change that policy. Our children should all have the option to return to school in person and be in an enriching and safe environment. It is not just my opinion, but also the belief of trained medical experts that masks should be worn by everyone in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna Marie. Paul Trainer.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Paul Trainer. I'm a pediatrician. I've been a pediatrician in Murraysville for the past...
Do you live in Murraysville, Paul?
Pardon?
Do you live in Murraysville?
No, I live in Pittsburgh.
Is he allowed to speak if he's not in Murraysville, not a resident? Solicitor?
Actually, only residents should be speaking
I'm a business owner and I've been in...
because, if you leave me complete, but because you are a business owner, we'll give you that opportunity to state your...
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I thought your policy is you have to live in the community to speak.
The policy does, and I think with him being a business owner in the community, I think to provide him an opportunity to state his concern.
This is business.
You're breaking your policy. You're breaking your policy.
Yeah, do you have a student in the district? Why do you take care of any students in the district?
I take care of tons of students in the district. Yes.
Our policy
Mr. President,
so
if
if-
this becomes a shouting match, I will be gone. Okay?
We're-
We can't
This
have
is not a shouting
decorum here
match.
if we can't have
If he's not
people
a resident,
respecting everyone's views and asking to speak rather than just yelling and screaming. This is not a meeting. This is chaos. Thank you.
Okay, but you're saying he's okay to speak?
we'll provide you that opportunity
All right.
because you're a business owner.
All right, as I said, I've been in the community of Murrysville for the past 36 years, so I have the advantage of speaking for thousands of children from birth to 21. And I wholeheartedly wanted to support the Academy of Pediatrics, of which I am a member, and the CDC's recommendation for universal mask wearing in school. So wearing a mask is not a big deal. It's like wearing a shirt. In the past 16 months, we've had children that are 2 years old that wear masks, and the only time it's a problem is if the parents don't. Parents wear a mask, they show them this is a natural thing they do, they wear a mask, it's not a big deal. They can communicate perfectly fine with your eyes. 4-month-olds look at your eyes and they see you and they communicate with you that way. They don't need to have the rest of your face. Certainly they do sometimes, but not all the time. Wearing a mask is not a hardship, it's easy. We have disabled kids who wear masks, we have autistic kids who wear masks, and I said we have 2-year-olds who wear masks. And it's not a problem for them at all. It does protect everybody else. The transmission of COVID happens more likely between staff members, but can happen between students and staff, as well as student to student. And the transmission rate is about the same as it is in the community. So certainly, all of the experts recommend mask wearing, and me wearing a mask doesn't do anything. Everybody has to wear a mask, and it has to be worn properly. So in the end, if you are assigned with a task of choosing policy or infrastructure based on an expert recommendation, which you have gotten from the CDC and the Academy of Pediatrics, and you base your decision on that, but then, oh, by the way, you know what? 300 children have died from COVID this year. And do you want to sign off on that? If there was some piece of playground equipment you're going to get?
That's unfair to say that, sir. As a professional, that's unfair, but you have 30 seconds left.
So in any event, 300 children have died from COVID. And they would remember that one child in 4th grade who dies long after all of you are gone from your current jobs.
How many times do you wear that?
Sir,
I wear it all the time.
sir. Okay, we're not going to have
We're
debates.
not debating this.
Excuse me,
It's-
sir, both of you.
Okay.
You are here to address the board. We've heard your comment. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Stacy?
That was exciting.
Pardon me?
That was exciting. So my name's Stacey Cranebucker. I actually live in Murrysville, and I'm a new mom in here, and I have a 5-year-old coming into kindergarten who is super excited to be coming in. And one question I want to ask you guys, do we all agree that we genuinely care about the well-being of all of these children? Can we agree on that? Right? Okay. Not every child is the same, correct? Like, you might have one child that is phenomenal in math. You might have one child that might struggle in math. You might have one child that chooses to be a certain gender, which Franklin Regional has allowed them to choose that, which is why I have found out that unisex bathrooms are now available, so there's no discrimination on that, which is great. Also, one child may love wearing a mask. They might not have any problems with wearing a mask whatsoever. But we have children, like my 5-year-old, who will not wear a mask. And I'm not going to enforce that on them because I know that their mental state is more important than anything else. And if masks genuinely work, my 5-year-old will not transmit anything to another child if they're wearing a mask. I really believe that we need to start being able to choose. And I really appreciate you guys letting parents actually choose what is best for their children because let's be honest, who knows their child better than the parents? The parents. They know them outside of school. They know what they go through every single day. No one else knows that, and no one has the right to say what is good for them and what is not good for them when it comes to their well-being. Dr. Tom O'Brien said social distancing masks create stress hormones and they weaken and demand your immune system to respond to the stress. Eventually, you start wearing out your immune system. Then it's not able to do its job when you're exposed to something like a virus, end quote. There's always going to be viruses. I don't have a doctor beside my name, but that doesn't mean I'm not educated at all. You don't have to have an acronym beside your name for knowing stuff at all. We have a choice on how we choose to live. No one should be pushing how they want to choose to live at all on anybody else. We have a choose to live the way that we want to. If we want to choose to go to an MD, go to an MD. If we want to choose to go to alternative medicine, go to alternative medicine. When it comes down to mask, it's a choice to the parents of what's doing best for that child. That's why we're here. I want my child to have a very good education. We moved into the Franklin Regional School District because we know it's a great educational area, but I also don't want my child to be discriminated against, shamed, or guilted, or feared into doing something that he chooses that he knows that he cannot do, nor will I stand beside that. I also know that in school, in person, is the best way for our children to learn. Sitting behind a computer screen, they don't learn that well, especially at that age. They need to socialize. They need to see people's faces. They need to see their teachers' faces, okay? When I asked my son this morning, he went to preschool, him and my 3-year-old went to preschool last year locally here. They didn't wear a mask one time. Do you know that my children never got sick one time? Other children wore masks, they got sick. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, okay? But it proves to me what I'm doing right now with my children is doing something right, and it's showing that they don't need to, and that school gave them grace. They gave us grace to not judge and to not discriminate against other children if they can't wear them. That's a loving school. Okay. When I asked my son why he believes children and adults wear masks, you know what his answer was to me? To be quiet. But Mom, we're not quiet. You know, that broke my heart. Because do you know the first thing that someone does when they're trying to traffic a child or a woman? What do? They put their hand over their mouth to be quiet. So if you guys genuinely care about the children, you'll allow the parents to genuinely choose what's right for them. So I just ask you to do what's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Okay, Matthew and Sherry. Are they here?
Well, I guess I'll wing it. I didn't come prepared for anything. Matthew Olszewski and my wife Sherry, Murraysville, residents for 18 years. Amy, good to see you. We've had 4 kids come through the school district now and been associated with a number of you on the board. Bottom line, make it short and simple. I'm not a doctor either. Thank you for speaking. And the gentleman earlier, you did a very good job. It's a simple decision. Let the families have their choice. Give them the option. You want to wear the mask? Double mask, whatever it may be. We choose not to. We're healthy. There's alternative medicines out there besides a vaccine. You can do natural remedies. Give the kids the options. You're a physician, that mask only works once. How many microns does it take to go through that mask? What's the virus level at? How large are the virus droplets? Surgical masks don't work. It's proven. CDC even proves it. On the box of the surgical masks, it states it doesn't affect the certain micron level that the virus is at. Give the parents their choices. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Hi, everyone. Thanks.
I need your
for
name and
letting us
address,
speak
Jennifer.
Today.
I need your name and address, Jen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jennifer Ryder, and we live in Murraysville on Camarillo Road. I wanted to bring some facts. I've been happy to hear so far that, you know, you're all for parents making the right choice for their children. I believe in freedom, and especially freedom to breathe, freedom to make our choices. And it is, you know, it's not up to you as the school board or a government to determine what is best and safe for all of us. It really is up to the parents to decide what is best for their children to keep them safe and healthy. So I wanted to read some facts that are all based in actual science. First of all, recommendations or mandates from the CDC, the PA Department of Health, our governor, the PDE, or any other agencies are not laws. These are not enforceable, and they did not go through the process that makes them actual laws that we must abide by. We are free to make our own decisions about what's best for us and our children. No one can force us to take away our freedoms. I believe in the right to breathe oxygen. Breathing oxygen unrestricted is also recommended. Unrestricted is recommended by my son's neurologist and neurosurgeons. They recommend that he never wear a mask. They know that this is detrimental to children's health, especially a growing and developing child. The medical implications of wearing masks are real, especially for growing and developing children. Scientific studies are raising significant concerns now that we're a year and a half into this insanity, both medically and legally regarding the use of masks. At a minimum, there is countless medical research out there to support that masks cause microbial challenges and bacterial infections. Brain develop impairments, hypoxia and hypercania, depression, mood disorders, fatigue, headache, confusion, high blood pressure, pulmonary hypertension, increased heart rate, acute respiratory failure, just among a few. I don't know about any of you that have children that have gone through this past year, but my son would come home after a whole day of masking and he was exhausted. He would go right into his bed and he would lay down in his bed and he'd walk around in the evening in a stupor state. He did not concentrate. He did horrible at school, all because he was forced to wear a mask for several hours a day. This is something that we don't even make our medical doctors and nurses do. Mandatory mouth masking in schools is a major threat also to our child's development. It ignores the essential needs of a growing child. The well-being of children and young people is highly dependent on emotional connection with others. Masks create a threatening and unsafe environment where emotional connection becomes difficult. That has to ring true to some of you, because every time I spoke with a teacher, they told me we're having a very difficult time connecting with our students this year. Every time. Masks are ineffective, and in many ways they cause harm. It's a myth that they prevent viruses. The size of a virus particle is much too small to be stopped by a surgical mask, a cloth, or a bandana. A single virion of SARS-CoV-2 is 60 to 140 nanometers, or 0.1 microns. The pore size in a surgical mask only captures 200 to 1,000 times that size. There is informed consent, I hope that you're aware of, by mandating masks. It is illegal, regardless of the lack of safety and efficacy behind decisions for a child to wear a mask. It is illegal to mandate UEA-approved investigational medical therapies without informed consent. Okay, well.
If you would wrap up. I'll provide everybody a couple seconds just to make the closing remarks.
The fact that mask wearing presents severe risk of harm to the wearer should not be required for children, particularly that these children are not ill. They have done nothing wrong that would warrant an infringement of their constitutional rights and bodily autonomy. Promoting the use of a non-FDA approved, emergency authorized mask is unwarranted and illegal. I appreciate all that you do, and I hope that you take this into consideration and understand that as parents, we know what's best for our children. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. Mary Hicks.
Mary Hicks, and my address is 4760 Old William Penn Highway in Murraysville, and I'm not going to say anything about masks. I'm here to read my letter to the editor that appeared in this week's Murraysville Star, and the titled Franklin Regional Should Install Air Pollution Monitors. And here's what the letter says. To the editor, I am again expressing concern about the high levels of air pollution around the Franklin Regional School Complex on Old William Penn Highway in Murraysville. The purple air quality monitor outside my home, mere steps from the Franklin Regional Complex, often shows high levels of air pollution far exceeding the EPA safe levels of exposure. Air pollution most severely affects people living, working, or going to school within 1,500 feet of the source. Alarmingly, carcinogenic diesel particulates are part of the pollution ingested by Franklin Regional students. I'm shocked by the number of diesel tractor trailers using Old William Penn Highway, especially by the school complex, and have called on the municipality to limit diesel tractor trailers around the schools. Most businesses on Old William Penn Highway can be accessed by one of the Route 22 connector roads. The Sloan Elementary School project will help limit younger students' exposure to dangerous air pollution. However, it also means higher levels of air pollution on the roads leading to the larger, busier Sloan complex. I am also calling on the Franklin Regional School Board to install air quality monitors linked to a publicly accessible website at both school complexes. Without steps to address air pollution around the Franklin Regional Schools, I would reconsider living here for those with school-aged children, especially middle and high school students. If Murraysville's air pollution is making me this unwell, it's also affecting your children and grandchildren's health. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, that's it for public comments. Solicitors' comments.
No comment for the public session this evening.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to consent agenda items. We're going to make one change. We're going to move the last consent agenda item, number 29, up to number 1. Number 29 has to do with the Franklin Regional High School band Disney trip for 2021-22 school year. It's on pages 128 to 130 of your packet. Anybody have any comments about the band trip to Disney World? Hearing none, we're good. Okay. Mr. Sylvester, if you're here, you can leave. Okay, thank you. Okay, Dr. Pinus, we're moving to personnel.
The personnel agenda this evening has a number of appointments, transfers, leave of absences, retirements, resignations, support approvals for a number of different positions and categories. They are for certified personnel, support personnel, and supplemental personnel. I will note that the transfers for certified personnel is rather lengthy. There's a 3-page attachment with that due to the fact that the elementary schools are consolidating into the K-2 and the 3-5 building. So all of those teachers had to be listed as transfers from the previous 3 elementary schools.
Anyone have any questions on personnel? We're going to move that on to the voting meeting on the 16th. Dr. Perino, special counsel.
Administration is recommending that we hire Joe Bucci as special counsel, as an expert advisor for construction litigation.
Any comments from the board on special counsel for litigation? We'll move it on to the voting meeting on the 16th. Dr. Pinus, you're up again for health and safety plan.
The health and safety plan draft, as it was included in the board agenda, is completed in accordance with PDE requirements. The plan is written in very broad terms to be flexible and responsive so that we would have the ability to adjust if needed. At this time, we are making masking optional for staff and students as the plan is written.
Any comments from the board? Sure.
I had talked to Dr. Perino and Dr. Pinos. I believe that section G needs to be amplified a little bit because I don't think it says anything
Okay. Okay, we'll look at that for the 16th then. Okay,
I was muted there.
I got it.
Probably is a good idea, you know.
It is a good idea. All right, we're moving back on to Dr. Pinus, Renaissance Learning Revised.
Okay, this is an agreement for the district for software services for testing that we do with our students, as well as some supplemental programs that we utilize with our curriculum. This is actually part of an original 6-year contract that was approved in June of 2019. The total at that time was $269,000, $269,504.97. With the consolidation of the 2 elementary schools, we've made adaptations to this contract. So this is just a new agreement to complete the remaining 4 years on the existing contract, but this reflects a $3,000 savings due to that realignment of the schools.
Any comments on the board? Hearing none, we'll move that to the 16th. You're still up, Dr. Pinus, for West Virginia University.
All right. The next 2 agreements with West Virginia University and, can I see your agenda? St. Vincent College School of Education are affiliation agreements for us to be able to accept student teacher nurses and student teachers through St. Vincent. So these are standard agreements that we sign with universities that we accept students from.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, we'll move that on for the 16th also. Concurrent enrollment agreement with LaRoche. Dr. Pinus again.
Okay, 7 through 11 are agreements with a number of universities: LaRoche, Point Park, Seton Hill, University of Pittsburgh, and Westmoreland County Community College. And these agreements, again, are yearly agreements in which we utilize for college and high school and dual enrollment courses.
Any questions?
These are all just reiterate, I mean,
We already have them.
extending, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Dr. Pinus, would you mind taking a minute, since we do have a lot of parents, I'll be taking a look at our meeting tonight, to just kind of summarize the offers, what those programs are, what we do have in the high school programs, just so that they know what we're talking about there. There's several there on the agenda, and actually back to the Renaissance Learning Contract, what that is. That's a dollar amount item, but what that really does provide for the students, that what we're putting in place there for their educational development there.
Yes. You said you want me to expand on those?
Just a little bit.
Okay. The college and the high school dual enrollment courses is a great opportunity for our students to be able to enroll in courses through these universities, but they sit in our high school classroom and actually receive the credit for those courses. The cost of those courses are at a significantly reduced amount. And what it allows is for our students to graduate with a number of college credits that they've already gained through not even leaving our high school, and through a much greater financial advantage. Some of the statistics that I have here, as we have calculated the cost savings to our students, is our Franklin Regional families have saved almost $1.9 million in college costs with the courses that students have taken. That is 1 year, yes, 1 year. This year in particular, we had 292 students take 565 classes and earn over 1,700 credits. So the average family received a savings of over $3,000. Our teachers do have to use the syllabus that the college provides, so it is a college level course. It's not watered down, so to speak. It meets the criteria. Plus, it gives the kids an opportunity who are planning to go to college to experience what a college-level course looks like while they're still in high school, and maybe even can gain that extra support from the high school teachers that they're very familiar with. So it's a great program when your children are scheduling. These courses are listed in the scheduling book. They're all identified. So it's definitely something that's worth considering and looking into if you're not familiar with the program.
Dr. Panis?
Yes.
On this topic, I've been informed previously, maybe you could expound a little bit. One of the advantages of this program is that credits that are earned this way are transferable to colleges throughout the state of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
So it has great desirability from that standpoint.
Yes. We always ask that you check with colleges for what they're willing to accept, but most of these colleges are so well recognized that those credits are accepted.
I would like to really highly recommend to the parents of students in the Franklin Regional School District to take a real strong look at this. It's a wonderful opportunity, not only for your students to get a little taste of college while they're in the high school environment, but they have their teachers there. The bottom line is, folks, you're going to save a significant amount of money and get the kids into a good start. So for those that want to choose going to college, to not take advantage of this would be a shame. So it all goes back to, with parents being parents, communicate with your students. Thank you.
I guess I'll just point out, based on Mr. Mitterator's comment, that this is not the only opportunity that we have in Franklin Regional for students to earn college credits. The other one they can do through AP programs, advanced placement programs. And if they do take the program and they pass the test, they can get credits in colleges throughout the country.
Any other comments?
Mr. Kozlowski, did you also want me to talk about the Renaissance piece?
Yeah, just to kind of give parents an idea of some of the programs we used.
Okay, so the Renaissance platform that we use is used in grades K to 8, and it's a number of software subscriptions, including Accelerated Reader, Star 360, and Star, yeah, those are the two big ones, I guess, that are there. And what we utilize this program for is benchmarking our students when they come in and basically gathering data on their learning progress that they make throughout the year. And we can look at that 3 different points in the year, and it helps us utilize that data to do small group instruction with them and instruct them in areas that they may be weak in, and gives the teacher a lot of information on where kids maybe need support, but also where kids might need enrichment and where they're excelling and where they already know information that we can push them further in. So it's a great program that I know has been used a number of years here in the district, and it really helps us personalize the instruction to our students to best meet their needs by being able to support them in areas that they need it, but also pushing them to enrich them in areas where they really excel.
Thank you. Thank you for helping that. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but
No,
appreciate
that's.
Thank you, Dr. Pinus.
Mr. Suvak, when it comes to the college credits, we talked about being able to save a lot of money, and he frequently points out to me that his own son was able to transfer 34 credits into the University of Pittsburgh, advance a year, and save a lot of money. And so obviously he is a big champion for that as well.
Almost a year off his.
As well as my own children who have also earned college credits through this process. But it's a great opportunity for students in Franklin Regional.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Pinus, thank you. Dr. Rogowski, Western PA School for the Blind.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Changing it up on me a little bit up here.
That's good.
I have 3 contracts for your consideration this evening. These are our annual contracts. The first is with Western Pennsylvania School for Blind Children. These are services that are provided for students who are blind or visually impaired within our own school setting. We contract with their services, and they provide them here on campus, and also for students who need to navigate out in the community, they provide them in the community for those students as well. We've been partnering with them for over 5 years and have a great relationship with their organization. Any questions?
This is yearly, so I don't have any questions on it.
That's right. The next one is another yearly contract with Greensburg, Salem. We partner with them to provide education for students that may need that particular service in their setting. We're responsible for providing a free and appropriate education in the least restrictive environment, and sometimes we will work with other districts that may be able to provide a different service or a service that we can't offer in their own school setting, and this is one that has been provided for years for students within our district, and we continue with that partnership and have a lot of success with it.
Any questions on Greensburg? Allegheny Intermediate.
The last contract is our partnership with the Allegheny Intermediate Unit. As you know, right down the street, we do have a school called Sunrise, which is run by the intermediate school. Oftentimes, we have students that may move in our district from out of county that are already attending that school. And for consistency reasons, we work with that family to continue to provide that service in that setting until we get to know the student to see if there is a better, different, or even placement within our own school setting. So we want to make sure that that student has a smooth transition within our district, but keeping that consistency with where they're currently at. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Moving
you.
on to the 16th. Okay, Mrs. Cow. Buses and van drivers for 2021-22 school year.
So for the first time, August 16th, at the next meeting, we'll be bringing you our finalized list of bus and van drivers. We have a August 9th and 10th annual meeting with the Myers team, so at that point, we'll have that finalized and ready for you. And also on August 16th, we will be bringing you the finalized list of bus stops for the district.
Any questions on bus drivers and van drivers and bus stops for 2021-22 school year? Thank you very much.
I just do have a question. Are we looking at a shortage of drivers for the buses? Is that a problem?
They would like to have more drivers. They're always looking for more drivers, and Metz is looking for more people in food service.
Thanks, Erica. Okay, Mr. Perry. Appointments and contracts.
Good evening. The first item I have tonight is the final appointment that wasn't presented in June, and this is our annual contract with Murraysville Medic One to provide standby EMS services during school hours and sporting events. The agreement calls for a payment of $14,950.72.
Any questions on ambulance service? We'll move it on to the 16th, gifts and grants and donations.
Okay, this evening we have a number of gifts, grants, and donations. First, we have the recurring staff contribution to the Fund-A-Meal program for $316. Next, we received the Westmoreland Conservation District's contribution to the elementary campus stormwater improvements, which are the pervious pavers that are in the parking areas for the elementary campus, and that was $129,085. The next three items are contributions from the PTO groups from the three former elementary schools. Heritage contributed $11,000, Newlandsburg $6,825, and Sloan $29,870 towards the playground and outdoor classroom at the elementary campus. And then finally, the Anderson Corporation, we seem to be getting a recurring monthly contribution. It's $12 to the middle school. Somebody, I think, elected to have a matching gift out of their paycheck, so we'll certainly accept that.
Thank you for that.
Anticipate seeing that going forward.
I guess I'd like to make one comment on that, and that's just to thank the Westmoreland Conservative District and our three PTO organizations for their very generous gifts, and we thank you.
Absolutely. And finally, budget transfers. Tonight, we have general fund transfers of $1,785,576.64, and athletic fund transfers of $22,645. Obviously, these are far greater than the normal monthly transfer amounts, but this is due to the annual allocation of federal funds and grants, as well as year-end transfers.
Any questions on transfers, budget transfers? We'll move on to the 16th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Mr. Schreckengast. Teacher laptops.
Good evening. I just have one item on the agenda tonight. That is the purchase of 40 teacher laptops that is part of the standard refresh rate cycle for teacher laptops.
Any questions on teacher laptops?
What was the number of them again?
40.
40.
40?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch. Thanks, Brad. Okay, Mr. Matsey. Oh, Nancy, you're up. Okay.
So I do have some project slideshows. So if it's okay, we'll start on those and then we'll move into the change orders. If that's acceptable.
I am what I am.
Just give us a second to have the folks in the back bring up your presentation. Thank you.
No problem.
Starting primary or intermediate?
Primary would be good. That's just standard what we've been doing every time.
Back there.
Let me get out of your way.
It was easier when the screens are already right there for me, so I apologize for the delay.
She's new.
Okay, so at the primary school,
Okay, it's fine.
hopefully you can just click for me there. So we are wrapping up the restrooms. This is the new restroom layout for, this is the restroom closest to the cafeteria. Next slide.
Back to the restroom real quick.
Absolutely.
I just want to take the opportunity to point out that those are like individual powder rooms. Like you have a powder room in your house, ensures privacy for all students. Those from floor to ceiling, inside, on the inside walls as well as the outside walls.
And although there are sinks on the outside, there's a sink in each stall. The faculty lounge. The orientation slightly changed. Where those casework cabinets are, that's actually a new wall, and you go through that opening, and there's two restrooms, individual restrooms, that the faculty can now have access to. The cafeteria, we're going to start the flooring in that cafeteria to finish off the finishes in the cafeteria on Wednesday. Our kitchen, we have all of the equipment in. It needs to be cleaned, but we're ready for our startups this week. Next slide. This is in Area C. This is the other restroom that we took over this summer. They finished up the plumbing fixtures yesterday, and they started our partitions today. I'm sorry, today's Monday. They finished up the plumbing fixtures on Friday. My days are blending together, I apologize. And then we just finished putting in all the corridor ceiling tile. This was our last remaining corridor throughout that was open throughout the entire school year. The reason this was open and stayed open is because of the mechanical work that we needed to make sure we could finish up for those restrooms. Now that hallway is complete, and the flooring will finish in that space also starting Wednesday. As always, we have the Payout Summary, and then we have the change orders as well. We can go through those. And if we need to look at any, we can go back. But that's the summary. And then finally, just as follow-up of the summary of the project, we just have the startups. They'll finish up the toilet partitions and accessories, the flooring, and the remaining door installations, hardware, and access controls. We actually look like we're a little ahead of schedule, but we will definitely be complete on the 20th. And that's the primary school. So if we could switch to the intermediate. All right, for the intermediate school, starting in Area A, the kitchen also, all the equipment is installed. We have a few minor items that we're waiting for Todd Devon to get on site. However, they started the cleaning in there today. Dishwasher room, the serving area, and our cafeteria, and they waxed that floor over the weekend. This is the faculty dining area, also was waxed over the weekend. Our gym floor arrived this morning, and they'll finish that install this week. Our stage, I mainly put this one in the new casework on the one wall, but otherwise not much has changed in there for a while, but they did get that casework completed. All our casework is done. This is the entrance to the Creativity Center, and most of our signage is finished. The Creativity Center has a tremendous amount of things in the ceiling, and we just wrapped that all up today. And this is looking from the back of the Creativity Center towards the stage. Music rooms. Thank you. And the creative arts room, that flooring will start tomorrow. The community room, we're hoping that both of those rooms will get floored. But that one might not be tomorrow, but all of the flooring is to be finished this week. This is the ground floor lobby. I don't know, it's hard to see in this picture, but there is actually now wood, a maple wood on the seating area of the monumental stairs that's been installed there. Yes, sir.
What's above the acoustic tile of the?
So it's an exposed ceiling. It's painted blue. There is a 4x4 grid that holds the panels and a lot of the devices, but it's basically an open ceiling other than, it's an exposed ceiling except for those panels.
These hexagons or octagons, whatever they are, that's
It's a ceiling panel. It has acoustical properties to it, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And this is behind the monumental stairs. They've installed the bench. It's a maple wood bench there. And then there'll additionally be furniture that's being provided by the furniture company. This is the first floor lobby. Yes, sir?
Greg's gonna get a little plaque there. I mean, that's your area, right, under the steps?
I didn't design it. I like it. I think it's a great place for kids to gather.
You championed it,
This is on the first floor. This is actually right about where the elevator is, looking towards the entrance to the gym. The monumental stairs is to your left. Again, this is another lobby area where there's exposed ceiling and the panels. In the admin area, this is the nurses area. This is actually coming into the nurses area from the admin area. And then the next slide is actually looking from the waiting room into the area where the blue wall, the darker blue wall is, that's the cot area. And on the right-hand side, that's the isolation room that we added as a part of the one of the change orders that we had for the project. This is your admin workroom. And then the reception area. So your door that's right there visible is the door into the vestibule. So people coming in, they'll buzz into the vestibule. They'll have to buzz into the office before they're allowed to buzz into the building. This is the principal's office. Our furniture was delivered on Friday. and also for the conference room. This is on the second floor. This is actually at the top of the monumental stairs looking towards the media center. And then this is the media center. I actually have 3 different kind of views there. We have an area that's VCT and then the area that's carpeted. This is from the B side of the media center, and then the next slide is from the other side looking towards that same direction. You can see the windows out to the front parking lot. This is the teacher's IPC workroom, as well as they have a conference room. And our teachers started moving in today. So on the ground floor, we had teachers moving in on all 3 floors. I couldn't tell you exactly how many teachers we had today, but we had quite a number. They were all very excited. Ground floor Innovation Center and our stream classroom. Again, teachers moving into the space. The one teacher, this is a 4th grade teacher. She was very excited. She was almost done, and she was very excited about her display on the casework there on the right. And then second floor classroom, again, another teacher moving in. Our second floor corridor, all of the second floor has been waxed. And our bathrooms, our partitions are in, all the toilet accessories.
That floor, is that carpet squares or?
So that is tile.
That's tile?
Yes, and then VCT on the outside of the room.
The one you had before with that green area in the middle?
That is carpet.
That's carpet.
Yes. So those are meant to be broke-out areas. There'll be soft furniture and areas so that kids can be broken out of their classrooms and come together in that area to work.
I'm sure that's a receptacle on the floor, but
It is.
I didn't agree.
It's for my benefit.
It's also got a nice big hole, so you got a little bit extra cushion for the pipe.
And this is your art room, again on the second floor. And this is the Innovation Center. And our playground equipment is going in. And as of right now, at least everything I've been told, that the plan is that surfacing will begin right after, hopefully next Monday. As always, we have the Payout Summary and the change orders. And with that, we can roll into the change orders on the agenda, but I will acknowledge.
One question.
Yes, sir.
Could you comment, or maybe perhaps Dr. Priano, on our readiness to start classes? Do we have
As we
occupancy permits, for example?
Absolutely. We received temporary occupancy for the whole building on Friday.
Very well, thank you.
However, as we all know, we promised your building to be done on Friday. We are not done. We do have a few items that are delayed. However, we have other issues, contractors not showing up, contractors not showing the urgency that we would have liked to have seen. We are pushing. We are making phone calls daily. We are talking. I talk to the GC's project manager every night and usually every morning, verifying who's here, what's the plan. I'm confident that we're going to see a tremendous amount of work done this week. However, we have to stay on top. Our team is staying on top, making phone calls so that we keep everybody focused. And we are confident that we will have majority of the work required done. I believe we'll be very comfortable by the end of next week because of some of the delayed items. However, we do know that we have the telescoping seating and the bleachers have been delayed. We were told originally, and I've been communicating to the district for at least a number of months, we were told that they were coming the end of July and that we would have to be doing the install the first and second week of August. However, last Monday, the end of the day on Friday, the 23rd, I was informed that Mucci had been informed that there was no way they were coming the following week. As of right now, I do not even have a delivery date for those pieces of equipment. The manufacturer is saying they can't get steel, they can't get plastic to do the seats. We're staying on top of it. Mucci has contacted their supplier. Again, we're trying to keep pushing, but with manufacturers, sometimes that's a very difficult part. But we believe that would be the only thing right now that we believe will pass the date of students coming into the building.
Well, I guess I thought I'd heard a while ago that those two items would probably be on the punch list to do things once we got started with
We're
school.
gonna, like I said, we're still, I'm talking daily with the GC, seeing what we can do to improve, but unfortunately with manufacturers, they think we should be lucky to get them in August. We're gonna stay on top of it. The good news for the Creativity Center is that in addition to your telescoping seating, part of your furniture is actually tables and chairs. So you will have the ability to use those tables and chairs in that space. Unfortunately, we don't know when we'll have the telescoping seating.
Is there anything that you could foresee would impact our ability to start classes?
As of right now, no.
Okay, that's what that was been my impression. Thank you.
That is
for
certainly our
confirming that.
focus right now, is that we have to have the building, we want to see the building as close to being done by the end of this Friday, and only have a few things remaining that we'll have to be discussing for the following week.
Very well, thank you.
Nancy, this is what we spoke about a couple of months ago, about whether it was labor or material, kind of a combination of both of them you're dealing with, and I can really appreciate the material part of it. When you do get to the work, as Mr. Shiner just said, we're not going to have any delay with the students getting into school, but when would you anticipate doing the work that is not going to be finished at the start of school? Is this something that will be done in the evenings, on a weekend, so that we're not involving students around work needing done?
We've already informed the contractors that after next week, starting next week, we'd like them to move to second shift, with only exceptions made with the approval of the district. So anything that they want to do during regular business hours, they would have to put a request in, and that would have to be approved by the district. Other than that, if we are talking specifically about the bleachers or the telescoping seating, we'll have to base that with a discussion. Obviously, the gym is going to be difficult because you're going to have gym classes. So, you know, we would obviously have to work that out, whether it's second shift or a weekend, to get the work done. But that's something that has to be agreed to with the district.
And that space will be a challenge because we will also use it for athletics at different points in time. So
Absolutely.
Evenings, weekends, that space will be occupied.
They've delayed us. So once it finally is available to do it, they're going to have to do it on the terms of the district.
And,
Any other
and I would like to,
questions
well, I'd
overall?
also like to add, they're going to do it on the third terms, but at no extra cost to us, correct?
That is
That's on them.
That is correct.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that to be known. Thank you.
Any other questions before we go into the change orders?
You told us what some of the glazing maybe was going to be an issue. That's all been installed?
Yes, we have one curtain wall that is to be delivered this week and installed right away. So I'm anticipating the curtain wall will be done by the latest, the 9th, which is next Monday. And then we do have some glazing that, not exterior glazing, but interior glazing that we have to get in. Any place we are missing glass, they put plywood in, so.
I thought some of those oddly shaped windows.
Okay, so that is in the kitchen, in the media center, and that glass has been measured, and we're hoping to see that. I'm hoping to see it by the next week at the latest. I don't have an exact date from the contractor, but I'm hoping to see that next week.
This is going to get the push comes to shove here, isn't it, before we're done? Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions before I?
Driving by the entrance on the secondary building, the 3 to 5 building, it
Yes,
looks
sir.
like there is a section there that isn't complete. Is that a material issue or a time issue, or am I
As far as this,
or am I mistaken looking?
I'm sorry, what section?
On the entrance, the main entrance portion, it looked recently like there may have been a section that wasn't completed there, or is that?
Are you talking about siding?
Exterior,
Like an exterior siding?
Yeah.
We are having issues. Mucci has ordered the panels that they have to install on the exterior of the building. I don't have a delivery date for that.
That's a material issue
That is
there
a
for those?
material issue
Okay.
as well.
I did have one last question. I'd asked you some time back to investigate the material used for excuse me, erosion control on the left side or on the
Crown vetch?
Yes.
So nothing has been planted. So if you did see crown vetch, it is naturally grown crown vetch, and that will be remediated and the proper material will be planted.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Nancy, on to change orders.
All right. So item number 21 is GC 37 for additional demolition. This change order is for some additional work that was unforeseen. They took a wall down, there was another wall. We had some chases. That change order comes to $3,374.45.
Any questions on 21?
All right, number 22 is change order GC 38. This is for floor corrections. That change order is for $2,960.37. This is in the Area A restrooms. Because of the various spaces that we took over, there was at least 3 different, there was a part of a closet, or I'm sorry, a storage area, there was a part of a existing restroom, and there was a part of the faculty lounge. Unfortunately, all the floors were at different levels, and so we needed to do a leveling in that area in order to install the tile in that space. Is a pretty large ceramic tile, and we had to make sure that we had proper level for that installation. So this is the cost to do that additional leveling for that space.
Any questions on GC 038? Okay.
All right, GC 23 is for the final additional porta-john cleaning for the project. There will be no additional ones. This is not only for the second quarter, but I asked that Mucci do the last one for July. So this is the final one, $3,038.80.
Any questions on the Porta-John change order?
I'm going to step in and take number 24, please. Number 24 is a deduct change order for the amount. The amount in there is going to be modified to $540,890.83, and that is related to the playground change order. And
Dr. Brown,
$540,890.83.
And that'll match the.
That'll match the Glancy.
I'll make that change.
Right, correct. Yes, please.
Change order against advanced billers?
Correct.
All right. The next change order is number 25. This is to Glancy, GC 39. This is for additional site work concrete. This is an area that is associated to some of the dispute with Advanced on the concrete that they felt they owned versus what they don't own. They refused to complete this work. We asked our other GC, Glancy, to price that, and this is the cost for Glancy to perform the work since Advanced has refused to do it.
That's 29 something?
$29,722.79.
Any questions on 25? Okay, 26.
26 is a change order to SWC 11, site work deduct. This is based on the direction of the district to do a deduct change order to Advance to cover the cost for Glancy's change order. Again, that's a negative $29,722.79. So those will balance.
Okay, thanks.
Any questions about any of those items before I sit down?
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you all for your time.
Mr. Matsey. John Deere Gator.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to have the board approve the purchase of a John Deere Gator. This vehicle will be used for the maintenance department to be more efficient and safer, specifically for the vehicle to be used for trash removal from the stadium, graduation, sporting events, pulling the turf groomer, transporting small supplies, cleanup, winter transportation of ice melt, and just general landscaping.
Thank you. Any questions on the Gator? We've been talking about this for months, so. Okay. Heritage.
Heritage, requesting the board authorization for the solicitation for bids for the deconstruction of Heritage Elementary School. This is just the authorization to request bids, not to do the actual demolition of the school, to get the project, see if what's going to cost us.
Any questions of going out for bid for?
Question, sir.
Sure.
Is there any thought of any material within that building that's salvageable, or will salvage be part of this, or will it just be all demolition?
We've started to remove items in there that the district can use.
Sorry?
We've started to remove items in there that the district can use. We're going to continue to do that during the course of once schools get started, once we're caught up with everything else. We'll be removing some split units that we might be able to utilize in other areas of the district. We removed all the emergency door locks that if we don't have the use for them, we might be able to put on municipal bid. I'm not sure where we're going to go with that. But anything salvageable out of there that we have in the district, there's some locker shelving and hooks that we have in the district. We're going to pull out of them that match what we have now. So anything in there that's going to be able to be utilized, we will pull out of there.
Okay, thank you.
I want to just add upon that I think there's a lot of possible materials within the building that can be possibly used, not only for our school district. Did we entertain with some of the materials in there, contacting some communities and other school districts to maybe come in with their labor and take a look at stuff that we could sell at a nominal cost and pick up some monies instead of just throwing it in the ground?
Correct. That's what the municipal bid is. The municipal bid, if you're not familiar with it, we could take pictures of items and put on a website, and then ask. We could put a dollar amount, or we can ask for, what they would give it for us, and it would be them picking it up and being able to sell it that way.
Okay, great, because I know like a lot of the locks and hardware, you're talking a lot of money there, a lot of the faucets and the valves and the valve bodies and motors. You've got some serious money that, why should we spend money with some of the older stuff when we can just retro it and put it in there and instead of just throwing it in the ground?
Yeah, our HVAC maintenance people have already identified items down there that we're going to be able to pull out of there, and we already have use for a few items now, but things that we already have in the district for spares, we'll be able to take out of there.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matsey.
Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting.
Second.
Moved by Bill Yant, second by Paul Scheiner. Okay, we're going to move into the voting or the special meeting for August. We're moving into the Monday, August 2nd, the Franklin Regional Board special voting meeting. Okay, we're going to need a flag somewhere. Okay, we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, reading the mission statement. We, the Franklin Regional School community, strive for excellence, learning, achievement, and citizenship in all we do. We were not in executive session between meetings. Ms. Gillen, roll call.
Mr. Shiner.
Here.
Mr. Mitterator.
Here.
Mr. Kozlowski.
Here.
Mr. Nevin.
Here.
Mrs. Tower. Mr. Weinman.
Here.
Mr. Yant.
Yes.
Mrs. Woline.
Here.
Mr. Yingling.
Yes, here. Okay. We need approval of the minutes for June 21st, 2021, the regular voting meeting.
So moved.
Moved by,
Second.
moved by Greg, second by Bill. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Okay, there were no public comments between meetings, like we said. Solicitor comment?
Comment for
Okay, any items to be removed from the consent agenda item for separate action by board members? Okay, we've got 3 agenda items to vote on. We'll do this separately, and we'll do a roll call vote on all 3 of them. Personnel. Anybody have any questions on personnel? We went through this at the committee of the whole meeting. Hearing none. Yes.
President, I believe these items are wildly different in character. I would have approved if we voted on them individually.
I said we're going to do that. I already did that.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome. Okay, need a roll call vote for personnel.
Mr. Shiner.
Yes.
Mr. Mitterator.
Yes.
Mr. Kozlowski.
Yes.
Mr. Nevin.
Yes.
Mr. Weinman.
Yes.
Mr. Yant.
Yes.
Mrs. Woline.
Yes.
Mr. Yingling.
Yes. Motion carries 8-0. Okay, I need a motion for special counsel for construction litigation.
So moved, Shiner.
Second, Kozlowski.
Paul Shiner and Mark Kozlowski. Any comments on litigation? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Shiner.
Yes.
Mr. Mitterator.
Yes.
Mr. Kozlowski.
Yes.
Mr. Nevin.
Yes.
Mr. Weinman.
Yes.
Mr. Yant.
Yes.
Mrs. Woline.
Yes.
Mr. Yingling.
Yes. Okay, health and safety plan summary. Need a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Yant, second by Woolene. Any comments?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
We heard a lot this evening, and I'm grateful to everyone who spoke up, every single person that spoke up this evening. I'm grateful also for all the letters that we received, and I want to assure folks that I've read every word of every letter that has come in on this health and safety plan. And I'm not alone on this board. There would seem to be 2 distinct sides to some questions, the masking question anyway, about this health and safety plan. And I'm not at all surprised, because we are a microcosm of, of this country and the rest of the world. Questions have been raised about our concern, my concern and others, for the children of this district. What sits before you are 8 parents of Franklin Regional students at some point in time. I've personally graduated 3 of my kids from this district, my stepdaughter, and I have rising juniors as twins who live in my home in this district. I know that this board has deliberated not nearly as much as the administration over the health and safety and welfare of the children of this district over the period of this COVID thing. No decisions have come easily. I, for one, believe that the minority voice counts. And though I've been told by people in the community and maybe some of the people in this room that it's not a political issue, I have heard and read political rhetoric in some of the emails that have been sent to us that truly saddens me. Because some of those comments have nothing to do with the health, safety, and welfare of the kids. Nuremberg came up in an email, and I'm like, you're kidding me. Words like tyranny have no place in this decision-making process. Here's what I know, that there is a health and safety plan that the administration had put together, and this administration, from the minute I walked in the door until I leave in November, has received and will continue to receive my full support because I count on them and I believe in them. And the fellow that runs this place has more kids in this district than any one of us ever had. And he's not going to put his own kids' lives at risk. That said, the great majority of the people in this community are going to pat us on the back for passing this health and safety plan tonight if that's what happens. Some won't be so happy. I also know this. If Harrisburg decides to get a spine and make a decision and create a mandate for what happens in this district, and it just so happens that they tell us that we have to put masks on everybody, our administration certificates are on the line. They're not going to cross the Department of Education. And your heroes tonight will be goats tomorrow because we kowtowed and chickened out and didn't have the guts to stand up to Harrisburg. And that's a shame. You have people here who volunteer a hell of a lot of hours and who genuinely care about kids. It's not a popularity contest, not for me, where I'd have done better in the primary. But can't make everybody happy, but we're going to do our damnedest to make everybody safe. A question came up about a Franklin Regional Education, just for a standpoint of clarity going forward with our new school year. Franklin Regional teachers will be teaching kids in Hempfield, in Jeanette, and in Norwin because we're offering FROLA and expanding that because we've got capacity to be able to add additional students. It will help us to recoup some of the revenue out of my tax dollars and your tax dollars, that the increased revenue that FROLA costs us, and it does cost us more money. So we'll be able to recoup some of that and provide a service to districts that don't have the infrastructure that we have in place to provide a quality online education for kids.
Just to clarify, we are looking at a consortium with Norwin and Hempfield, and we will share students by grade level just because we don't, when we combine our districts, then we can have enough students to support the program. Otherwise, with the number of people indicating a desire to take the online program, we would be looking at single-digit numbers in those classrooms.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Jeanette's only contributing students, interested in contributing students, not their staff. All three districts are being very selective in terms of who we're choosing or selecting for those positions.
Okay. Thanks for the clarity on that. The one other thing I want to say is thank you to anybody who has chosen to move into this community and entrust your kids to our care. That was the thinking way back when we did this feasibility study and decided to start with the elementary in redoing our infrastructure. And we were challenged, why don't you start at the high school? Because you've got kindergartners that ought to have a nice place to go to school. So I'm glad to hear we weren't completely full of it when we came up with that idea. That's all for me.
Here's one comment I'd like to make on the health and safety plan, and that is that as we've seen last year, conditions related to COVID evolved through the course of the year, and the district made changes in response to what was going on in the pandemic. We all were hopeful, of course, that by this time this year, we wouldn't be dealing with so many changes, but the Delta variant is out there, and we're seeing effects in the rest of the country. I just wanted to make it clear that in this health and safety plan, it says we will make changes as we go based on conditions. And it doesn't particularly clarify, specifically what changes, but I just wanted to assure everybody that we will continue to do our diligence, as Greg says we do, because we do. And should that result in changes, it would be for the purpose of safety of students and teachers, employees within the buildings, and we'll try to make wise choices. But it would be the conditions that would drive changes, or mandates, or what comes out of Harrisburg, for example. So I just wanted to make it clear that I don't want everybody to be excited if a change comes out because it's necessary.
I'd like to make a comment. First of all, thanking the families of the Franklin Regional School District for being a good enforcer of watching over your kids. You're the first teacher, not the school district, you're the first teacher of your children. As a former, I had children that went to the Franklin Regional School District. My grandson graduated from here. We first of all come to you, the parent, to do the right thing. You are the first starting point of these kids. This is a very fluid situation that we have. I'm not going to go upon what Mr. Nevin and Mr. Shiner just said. I'm not going to add to the time, but just to reinforce what they were saying, we'll do what we need to do when we have to do it. But remember, folks, way back when this whole thing started, we come up with a plan to give you, the key word here is option. We gave you, the families, the option to send your children to in-person schooling or to do it online. This board put the money out there to get the computers into every child's hands so that there was no question that they had the capabilities of being educated. It may not be the best as in person, we all know that, but it was better than nothing. So, and I do believe, I did hear tonight that somebody said that the parents know their children best. I say this all the time, communicate with your kids, know your kids. Don't just look at your kids like they're a nuisance, okay? Embrace them, talk to them. They really enjoy, actually, mom and dad talking to their parents. So you really need to step up to the plate and really know what's going on with your kids. You really do. As far as the masking, to mask, to not mask, I think Mr. Nevin said it probably best. It's not a political thing, folks. This is something where people should have the right to choose. Thank God we still live in America, and that we can make the choice that we can with what we need to do, okay? If you really get into the weeds and look at the mask and what they do and what they don't do, the COVID is actually much smaller that would go through a mask or go into a mask. So that's a fact. I would say, please, look at and research this stuff. Don't just hear it because a neighbor said something or so-and-so said something. there's a lot of very good information out there that you can look into and get the real truth and get the real facts. And so, you know, again, we live in a great country. This is a wonderful school system. I chose to stay here. My children came here. I have people that move into this place, and the first thing that they say, what's the school district? And I very proudly say Franklin Regional School District, and that's all that they want to hear. So I can just say thank you. It's nice to see people in the audience instead of a bunch of empty chairs. Don't be afraid to send emails in to the board. I can truly tell you that all of us here, and Mr. Nevin probably put it right, I personally looked at over 100 and some emails. And I'd have to say probably 90% of them were people saying, please, don't suffocate our child. I saw some wonderful handwritten letters by children. They're who we're here to teach, okay? This is not about a popularity contest, it's about our children. And that's who we're teaching. And I hear those children loud and clear, and they're communicating. Mr. School Board Director, please don't make us hide behind a mask. So all I can tell all the people here, both sides of the coin, okay, because there's two sides to any coin, not one. So please do the best thing you can to be a good steward and a good watchdog. Teach your children hygiene. Please, you know, the better that they take care of themselves, the less chance of them getting something. So thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes. Yes.
When Dr. Pinos sent us out the first draft of the health and safety plan, and I got to the point about optional masking, I had some, as she knows, and Dr. Pete has, had some serious concerns. One of them was the liability that we incur, perhaps, about this. Mr. Matta was fairly clear about that. I mean, that you know, it's there. There's something there. The second thing that I was concerned about was the parent who decides that their children must mask or needs to mask or should mask has a tough decision to make, because her option and their option is to send the child to school with a mask. And I have a deep concern, and I've expressed it to them, about the possibility for bullying, peer pressure, all the other things that work on with this, or keep the child at home. So, in the adjunct learning system, and that's not really equal. I think we all agree that being right here in this school is the best place for these kids. So that was my secondary concern, and I really wanted to do this, but the other really not so much a concern as disappointment is that the state of Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Department of Education, the CDC, why the hell can't these people all get on the same page? I mean, why can't they? Because if they could, then instead of saying, well, the CDC says mask up, everybody. The state of Pennsylvania says, well, that's not a bad idea. However, you know, each school district should decide based upon their own. So in the end of it, what did they do? They told you guys all kinds of stuff, this side of the coin, that side of the coin, and then dumped it on us and said, and they're not sitting in front of all you people. And I respect everyone out here. If someone has a mask on, if they believe in that, you know, I've had COVID and I've also been vaccinated. So I feel like I'm probably as good a shape as I can be in where I am. But they've let us down. They've let every school board in the state of Pennsylvania down because they didn't give any clear guidance. There was a time when Dr. P was waking up every morning and jumping on his computer to try and figure out what the hell was today. What are we doing today? And it's a horrible thing. And I just want you to understand that this board, everyone sitting here, has spent hours and hours trying to figure this out the right way. And this is what we came up with. And while I still have severe reservations, I support Dr. P. I support what we're going to do, because I think we've got to all be together in this. And again, as Mr. Scheinert said, if the game changes, then we have to change with the game. So, and I will be the first one that will stand up and say we ought to go a different direction. Thank you.
Right. This is a very, as I said, this is a very fluid situation, so I want everyone to know that. Realistically, what you're hearing from all of us is we're sitting up here trying to do the best we can for the community. And quite honestly, most people have just kicked the can down the road and done nothing. One finger points one way, another finger points another, and they throw it at us, they do what you need to do. But I do want to let people know, the administration, we've all talked about this, whether the children decide to come with a mask or whether they choose to come without a mask, I can assure you that our administrators are going to make sure that the bullying and the finger pointing don't go there in either direction. We're going to nip that in the bud right away. If somebody's pointing at somebody that's got a mask and making fun of them, they're going to be stopped. And consequently, the other side of the coin, if they don't, we're going to stop that. And I think that that's important for the parents to know, because we've all heard over the years about the bullying, but this is something where we're all in this together. We all need to pull together, and there should be no bullying. And I can assure you, the administrator and the teachers and the staff are going to be there to protect both sides of the coin.
Okay, anybody else have anything to say? I think everything's been pretty much covered on this. Okay, roll call vote.
Mr. Shiner,
Yes?
Mr. Miterator,
Yes?
Mr. Kozlowski,
Yes.
Mr. Nevin,
Yes.
Mr. Weinman,
Yes.
Mr. Yant,
Yes.
Mrs. Woline,
Yes.
Mr. Yingling.
Yes. Motion carries 8-0. I need a motion to adjourn the special voting meeting for,
Motion to adjourn?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
okay.
Miterator.
Go, yeah. Thank you.